my friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tiffany, and in today's video we're going to talk a little bit about summer plans, summer favorites, the things that we have going on this summer, things that I do to help keep my children entertained all throughout the summer, which is very difficult to keep 5 children entertained for 9 weeks of unstructured time. And just a couple of things that we have planned for the summer, goals and schedules that I hope to follow, and hopefully they'll be helpful for you too. So if you're here for it, let's go ahead and get into it. So as I mentioned, I have 5 amazing children. My 2 oldest are in high school. My daughter will be a senior next year. My oldest son will be a sophomore next year. I have a middle son who will be in 7th grade next year. My next middle son will be a 5th grader, and then my littlest will be in 3rd grade next year. So we have a full house. My husband and I are both public educators. I am a elementary school counselor, and he is a special education teacher. And so we are home all throughout the summer as well. Neither of us do summer school or anything like that. So we are very blessed in the sense that we don't have to worry about like childcare and who's going to watch our kids and all of that stuff. However, we also have to entertain these children for 9 weeks, which can be rather difficult. I'm sorry if you guys hear my dishwasher running in the background. It just has to happen. I run it sometimes twice a day while we're home. So, it's pretty bananas. So like I said, I just wanted to kind of talk to you about how we schedule and maintain these 9 weeks while we're home, and the ways that we try to make it enjoyable, memorable, while not putting a ton of pressure on ourselves. So that's kind of where I want to start. And that is this pressure of romanticizing summer for your children. I think back to my childhood and summers throughout my childhood, and I have to be 100% honest with you. I don't really remember a lot of them until I was probably in high school. Now, my childhood is very different from a lot of others. There are plenty of traumatic moments that we are not going to get into. And so my memory of my childhood may be very different than that of someone who didn't experience similar things. As a young mom, when I was first, a mother, I had my first child at 23, and I felt like when summer came, I needed to create all of these incredible memories. I kept seeing all these things, you only have 18 summers with your kids and all of these things. And I felt this immense pressure to make summer something giant. And when Danny and I were young parents, we didn't have a lot of money, and we didn't have a lot of means to do big fancy things. We were really blessed that I had family in Southern California. We lived in Las Vegas. We would do a lot of traveling to the beach and, things like that were very affordable. But just this pressure and this idea of you need to have something to do every day. You need to have, scheduled time, and your kids shouldn't be bored. And, I was seeing friends that were doing these great trips and, their kids in camps and things like that. And the bottom line is we put a lot of pressure on ourselves in society in general, just as being, in being a human in today's society, but especially as parents, we put a ton of pressure on ourselves to make things memorable. And what I'm here to tell you is your kids are going to remember how they feel versus what they did. We just had a conversation about this the other night at our dinner table. Actually, it might have been breakfast. It might have been breakfast on Father's Day, actually, where we talked about, one of my sons had mentioned that he preferred living in Las Vegas over living here in New England. And when we tried to question him about why, considering our life is dramatically better here, we were trying to understand what it was. And it boiled down to these memories he had of swimming in his grandparents' pool, and how he felt about things that he enjoyed while he was there. And so that is kind of where, like, what I have in the back of my mind as I'm going into this summer is, how do I create these feelings of content, of peace, of happiness, just an overall sense of family and well-being and connectedness throughout the next 9 weeks that my children will remember. It's not about how many times we go to the beach, how many baseball games we go to, how many whatever. It's about those feelings of being connected to the people that you love that they're going to remember. So with that in mind, that very deep philosophical intro, this is kind of, how I plan to have an intentional summer with my family. And that's going to start with romanticizing the everyday things and not trying to create this big, extravagant summer experience. So I did write out a few things. First things first, I want to talk about activities that we have. We are blessed. Last year, we picked up a small little, soft side pool. It's just a Coleman, little pool that we picked up at Walmart on sale. And the kids are beyond excited about it. I'm looking at it right now outside. It's fun. I don't have to worry about, anybody not being safe out there because everybody can touch. It's big enough that we can put some pool floats in it and float around if we wanted to, and also small enough that it's easy to care for, and it was extremely affordable. We also have a trampoline, and that was a Christmas gift from 2 years ago, I believe. And this year I picked up this super fun little sprinkler on Amazon that you just hook to a hose, hook to the side of your trampoline, and it circulates water. So that's a fun thing for them to do. But there's tons of old school nostalgic things from my childhood that my kids can do for a very affordable price. One is running in the sprinklers. We turn the sprinklers on every night, every evening, and we encourage the kids constantly, almost daily. I encourage the kids to go out there and run in them. I want them to have those memories. The other thing is, evening fires. So just putting a couple of logs in the fire pit, sitting outside for an hour or so, reminiscing about your day. Just even if you're not talking and you're just listening to some super enjoyable music. We listen to a lot of stick figure while we're out there, kind of reggae vibes, and just hang out as a family. And just, again, that connectedness. Riding bikes. I love to do late night, hide and go seek or tag, where you have the kids wear glow sticks that you can pick up at the Dollar Tree. They can wear them around their neck or hold them in their hand. You can do flashlight tag, which is a lot of fun. Board games, all of that stuff. And all of those things are extremely affordable or free, which is, always a plus. We also have the luxury of a boat and a lake where we live. And so that is something we do a lot in the summer too. Tons of really, really wonderful, fond memories of just being out there. It's very relaxing and enjoyable. We go park out in a cove, the kids swim. It's really, really great. I haven't been able to enjoy that yet this year because of surgery. I'm recovering from a hysterectomy at this end of May, and so have not been able to enjoy swimming yet, but that will be coming, and I'm very much looking forward to that. So a couple of things that I try to do to keep the day flowing smoothly is to make sure that my kids are up by a certain time. Everybody's allowed to sleep in, but everybody has to be up no later than 10 a.m. And some might think that that's a little late. Some might think that that's early. Some might think it's crazy to give your kids a wake up time during the summer break. But I know for me and my children's well-being and their mental health, they have to be up by a certain time. And that means by 10 a.m., you're up, you're out of your bed, you're eating breakfast, and you're getting dressed. And I don't care if it's you literally put on a pair of basketball shorts and a t-shirt and you're not combing your hair, but you've changed your underwear and you've brushed your teeth and you've had some food. To me, that just kind of resets the day, right? And gets you going. I get up and do my hair and makeup every day. That's just how I work. But for my kids, even if they're not doing anything, I just want them up and dressed and feeling better for the day, better about themselves for the day. And then I do monitor how much snacking everybody is doing throughout the day. And we have done this a number of different ways. When my kids were little, my youngest is 8, so I don't consider him like little anymore. He's still young. But when they were little, I picked up little baskets from the Dollar Tree, one for everybody, and everybody got to pick out like 2 snacks for the day, and then they put in like 1 or 2 Capri Suns in the basket, and then a piece of fruit. No, I don't think we put a piece of fruit. Fruit was always like, I encouraged them to eat as much of that as they could, but that was like their snacks for the day. Now, if they were super hungry or we were really active and things like that, then we would go back and get more. But this was a way for us to kind of like pre-plan how much eating we were going to do in the day. Because if you have kids and they're home during summer or spring break or anything like that, they eat so much food. They're like little caterpillars, and you'll just go through your grocery, order in a day or two. I know at my house with 5 kids, if I buy a box of Capri Suns and there's 10 in them and everybody has 2 a day, that's 1 box a day. That's outrageous, right? So instead, when they were younger, we would like have them pre-pick out, for the day what snacks they were going to eat. And so then they could kind of visually see how much they had and figure out throughout the day, because really most of the time they're not doing all this snacking because they're hungry. They're doing all of this snacking because they're home and they're bored and it's available. So we don't do that anymore because we don't need to, but I do make sure that they're eating, because I find that they will skip meals and do more snacking. So I make sure that they're eating meals, and I will try to have like a lot more ready to make lunches available. If that's, pizza bites or sandwich things, chicken strips, I'll buy chicken skewers. I'll try to like make a little extra dinner so that they've got leftovers. But that way they're eating more meals and not just snacks. That has been very, very beneficial as well. The other thing we always keep a ton of are like Otter Pops, or those like, just push-up popsicles. They don't have to be Otter Pops, my kids can have, I allow them to have like 2 of those a day, especially if they're outside playing. If they're outside playing a lot, then I'll let them eat a popsicle or 2. As encouragement to be outside and enjoying this glorious weather. The other thing that I do, and I do this year round, but I do it a lot more in the summer, is I will make fruit platters, and that's just putting out, some fruit for the day. So for today, I'm gonna push the strawberries because I don't want them to go bad. So I'm just gonna literally wash and cut up the strawberries and put them on a platter and leave them on the counter so that every time they walk by, they see them and they're just munching on them. I have found that if I do that, they're more likely to eat that and not snack on other things than if they are going to get a snack. They're more likely to choose something other than the fruit. So leaving the fruit out as often as possible has been very, very beneficial in my house. It's a great way to make sure that fruit that is like on the verge of going bad gets eaten before it does go bad, because there's nothing worse than expensive fruit going bad before it's been eaten. Along those lines, I will also use a drink dispenser to pre-make like a big batch of lemonade or just like flavored water. You can make a big batch of ice water and put a bunch of frozen berries in it, or like a couple of scoops of some Kool-Aid or something, and then put a bunch of fruit in it. One of the better ones that we've done is like watermelon. You can put watermelon in with water and then put like a couple of scoops of Kool-Aid or some kind of water flavoring. And if you have that in a drink dispenser, I can put it out on my front porch or back here on my deck, and my kids that are playing outside can just come and get water all day long, and that makes sure that they're drinking. The other thing that I have done in the past, and I'm considering doing again this year because some of my kids are not very great at their water intake, is getting those water bottles that have, the hours broken down, like this one here, and making sure that they are monitoring their own water. And just having that goal of, I got to make sure I drink this by this time, because it's so easy when you're just out of your routine to stop doing things that are normally routine, like drinking water or eating regular meals, right? One of the things that I find to be the most important, it's not one of the things, the thing that I find to be the most important thing to have an intentional, peaceful, calm, and memorable summer is to have some kind of routine, some kind of schedule. I probably don't have to say this, but people, and especially children, thrive on having a routine, something to do. Without that, we can feel lost, purposeless. It can create these senses of hopelessness, and it just is so not good for your mental health to not have a routine and something to do every day. It breeds discontent, and in my mind, that's kind of where that boredom kicks in, and where people will start to feel bored when they don't have a routine. Working with children, and having 5 of my own, but more working with kiddos, something I have discovered is kids really value downtime. But when they have too much of it, it doesn't feel like downtime. So having those moments in your day that are unscheduled, where you don't have anything to do and the kiddo gets to just pick what they're doing, whether that's watching a movie or a TV show or playing a video game or, playing with their friends or scrolling on their phone, whatever that looks like, whatever their downtime looks like. It's going to depend on their age. Of course, I have older kiddos, so that's what downtime for them typically looks like. But when they have those blocks of downtime in their day, like a 2-hour block, that feels rejuvenating, refreshing. It feels like it's charging their battery, where if that's just all they're doing, it's actually battery depleting. I know that sounds strange, but maybe it goes back to the laws of physics, like body in motion stays in motion, right? So like if there's nothing to do all the time and they can just do whatever they want all the time, it can feel very depleting. My cat is on the scratch pad right now, of course. So having some kind of routine. Now, it doesn't have to be like super rigid, but it can be, if that's your jam, if you feel better like having a super rigid routine. We have done that in the past. Very rarely is it stuck to for a significant amount of time. But for me, again, just going back to that word of the summer, just it being intentional with what we're doing, making sure that every day we have one goal, something we want to accomplish, talking about that, writing it down or discussing it with me or with their dad. Danny and I will do that with each other every morning. We sit out on the porch and we have our coffee and we say, what's your plan for the day? What's your plan for the day? What's something you want to get done? What's something you want to get done? Is extremely helpful. So, having like a direction and something we're working towards. So making sure they're up by a certain time, whatever that time is for you, making sure that they eat breakfast, a good solid breakfast, and they get dressed, make their bed. I'm not always super strict about making the bed, to be 100% honest with you. I make my bed every day, but I'm not like super strict about the kids making their bed all the time. Maybe I should be, but whatever that morning routine looks like so that they're up and moving, have them do something good for their brain. So reading or drawing, coloring, doing a puzzle, and something good for their brain that's going to, enrich their brain, just keep it sharp. My kids all have like a reading expectation for the summer, so they'll be plowing through that. I plan to be doing a lot of reading this summer. I think I mentioned that in a previous video. So I hope that by example, it will be, good for them. I did just pick up A Court of Thorns and Roses to read. So thank you for everybody who recommended that. I liked that it was a series so that I could just pick up the next one. Of course, having like a daily chore list. We have a daily chore list anyway, but having a time that it has to be finished by is very beneficial. So I try to just have that done, by lunchtime. So it's just over with. And then like the chores that they have after dinner, cleaning up the kitchen and emptying the table and all that stuff can be done later. And then, you know, they have the majority of their day to do whatever they want. A lot of times they'll plow through all those things and be done in an hour, and then their day is free and they have friends come over, or they're swimming, or they're playing outside, or they're doing whatever. You know, that's great. That time feels meaningful and enjoyable and earned versus every single day just, I don't know what I'm going to do today. So I feel like that's just very, very beneficial. One thing we shy away from, and this kind of goes back to that putting pressure on yourself, is a bucket list. I think that bucket lists are a lot of fun. Sorry if I'm repeating myself. I just had to take a little break for the kids, but I think the bucket lists are a lot of fun. They're a great way to like brain dump ideas of things that you want to do. However, I also feel like they can be like putting so much pressure on yourself. So when you have all of these things written out and you write them in like a checklist, it can create this feeling of dissatisfaction, discontent when you're not checking things off the list, or when the end of the summer is done and you've only checked off 3 things on the list. But that can like alter the way you feel about how your summer was. So your kids might have had a really wonderful summer, but then the end of the summer, they see that only a couple things are marked off the list, and they see all the things that they wanted to do but didn't do. It can completely negate all of the things that, you know, were wonderful. That's kind of just how, you know, the human brain works. And so although I think bucket lists are a lot of fun, and I think that you can get a lot of really great fun ideas from them, I just caution, you know, how you do it. I think maybe writing down a brain dump of things that are fun, make sure that they're very realistic, and you only put big items, you know, sparingly. So things that you can do, like going out and looking at the fireflies, or, you know, going on a nature walk, things that you can just do very easily and don't cost money, and you can just, you know, very easily check those things off the list. Great. But big things like camping trips, or, you know, trips to amusement parks or things like that, just make sure that you're very intentional and wise in what you put on those bucket lists. So that's kind of where I stand in the bucket list item. I prefer, instead of making like a big summer bucket list, to have a discussion, you know, once a week about what's something we could do this week, and then pick a day, sit down, look at the weather, look at everybody's schedules. Does anybody have camp this week? You know, sports, anything like that. And then pick a day. Say, you know, if you're having a conversation and you decide, you know what, let's go to the beach this week. This would be a good week to go to the beach. Pick a day. Everybody knows. They can put it on their calendar, and then they have something to look forward to. You already know when you're going to go. And it's at the top of their mind then, instead of just this like big, when we're trying to create a big running list, sometimes we will put a little bit too much, you know, on the list versus something that we actually want to do right then and now. And then also, I think it feels very satisfying to think of something you want to do it right away. It creates this extra layer of satisfaction, and then it's done. And then you've created this meaningful memory, and you're not, you know, over scheduling or putting too much pressure on you and your kids. So that would be my recommendation and how we plan to do it this summer. This summer is a little bit different for us, considering I am recovering from surgery. We did not plan a ton of things. Danny and I have a long weekend with friends away in a couple of weeks. We have a graduation party to go to in July, and then in August we have our annual big family camping trip. Danny does take the boys on at least one boys only camping trip that they do without mom and without their sister. They go just the 5 of them, which I absolutely love, and they love it. So I don't really have anything to do with that planning. And I think Danny was saying he was going to try to do that more than once this year. The kids really want to sleep out on the trampoline one night this year, so hopefully we can make that happen. They've said that for many, many summers, but we'll see what happens. Looking at my list here to see if there was anything else that I was forgetting. So some of the things that we are looking forward to doing this summer is Lots of just family time outside, like I mentioned, with fires, hanging out in the pool. I love to go on a little walk around our property at dusk when the fireflies are out. It's absolutely beautiful. It's cooling off, not like today. Today is going to be 90 degrees, but sorry, I had to pause again for the kids. But as I mentioned, just pouring myself a cold drink, going and doing a little walk around the property is a lot of fun. Another thing that I love to do during the summer is re-watch Stranger Things from beginning. If you're not a Stranger Things fan, then you can just think of some other kind of nostalgic show for you, but I love Stranger Things because it reminds me of growing up. It's set like in the time that I grew up as a kid, and so it's very Goonie-esque to me, if you like the movie Goonies. I'm not a big Goonies fan, my husband is, but Stranger Things just kind of gives me those same vibes. And a couple of summers ago, I don't think it was last summer, I think it was the summer before, when season 3 or 4, I can't remember how many seasons there are. But when the most recent season came out, we all like binged it over the summer, and my cousin came out. It was just so much fun. And so that's something I want to redo this summer too, is rewatch, because that's a lot of fun. And it's something we can all watch together, and you forget so much about it, and it's just, for me, it's nostalgic. For the kids, it's fun. I'm holding the dog now because she just keeps barking at everybody that keeps walking by the front door, and so she's gonna stay right here with me. But one of the things that I would like to do this summer is a lot of cooking. I want to try some new recipes and I was telling Danny, I have all these like videos saved on Instagram and all these recipes I wanna try. And I'm thinking what I wanna do is like try them over this summer so that I can get good at them, so that I can put them in rotation for when we go back to school. So that is definitely something that I want to do. I love to cook, and having the time to try out new recipes is always enjoyable. So that is definitely something on my bucket list. I want to start that series, that book series I told you about. I would like to go to the beach like 4 or 5 times this summer. I know that probably sounds like no big deal over 9 weeks, right? But if you think about it, once a week is a lot to go to the beach. Like it's about 40 minutes for us, 45 minutes for us to get to the beach, and you've got to pack everything for the day and food for everyone, and 7 of us is a lot of people to get out of the house. So it's a feat, but that's definitely on my bucket list as well. So those are some of the things that we have planned. And again, just my goal is just to spend as much time together as a family, intentionally having quality time without putting pressure on the things that we are doing together as a family. I'm really looking forward to that as a family, and just, enjoying a leisurely, slow-paced, peaceful, and rejuvenating, battery charging summer, so that we're ready come August to go back to school and put our best foot forward. I'm gonna have a senior this year. I am not ready to have a senior. I know it's going to be a very emotional summer, or emotional school year, so preparing myself for that as best as I possibly can. And yeah, and of course also spending as much time as I can with my friends as well. I went across the street to my friend's house yesterday just for lunch, and it was so much fun. I just enjoy spending such, quality time with my sweet friends, and I love that they all live so very close, except for my one bestie, Sweet Anne. If you're watching, I love you, and she lives in Las Vegas, and I don't get to see her anywhere near as often as I would like to. So that's what's on our plan for this summer. I hope that you got some ideas, or maybe you heard something today that's going to help you have a more peaceful and intentional summer. Give yourself a little bit of grace, a little slack, and until the next one, my friends, take care.